Hi everyone, and welcome to Baby Loss, Grief and Love. I'm your host Kelly Wells, and I run UK charity Making Miracles, who bring you today's podcast. The podcast is open to parents, professionals, families, colleagues, organisations, health professionals, anyone that wants to come on and be a part of raising awareness in our baby loss community. We are based in the UK, however, we welcome international guests, and anyone, wherever you are very welcome here. If you'd like to get in touch, please email me, kelly@makingmiracles.org.uk, and please also consider making a donation to help us be able to continue with this amazing tour, supporting all of those people in baby loss. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's podcast. Today, I am joined by Sonia, who is joining us today from Soft UK. So, welcome, Sonia.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Kelly.
No problem. It was great to hear from you, because to be honest, I hadn't heard of Soft UK before. So, tell us what
Yeah.
you do.
So, Soft UK is a small children's charity. We are the only registered charity that help support families affected with babies that have trisomy 13 and 18, also
Hmm.
known as Patau's or Edwards syndrome.
Sure.
So, it's a chromosome deficiency, rare genetic condition. Um, you can get it diagnosed in pregnancy, although some families we meet don't know about it until after your baby's born. So we support families from diagnosis during pregnancy, all throughout the pregnancy, whether they choose to terminate, and then at the birth, postnatally, and the babies that survive, and then bereavement support as well, and also the wider family as well, because it's not just yourselves that go through it. A lot of families are lucky enough to have external support, so we try to provide support for grandparents, aunts, uncles, anyone as well that's involved in it and want to know more about what it's all about. So just to give you a small snapshot, it's the 13th or 18th chromosome. They're very similar in terms of their symptoms. Um, we like to say it's a life-limiting condition. There are
Yeah.
other phrases out there what we are trying to eliminate, like
Yeah.
incompatible with life. But that's what a lot of our families get faced with when they're being told the facts about the condition itself. So we are trying to erase that sort of narrative and
Sure.
move on with different sort of empathetic communication around how it's being delivered. So we also go into the professional communities. Our main audiences being midwives, sonographers, neonatal units, pediatric consultants, anyone that's associated with sort of caring for young babies and want to just sort of raise awareness of who we are, make sure that families that don't know what it is and want to find out more get directed to us first because we can give them the most up-to-date current information about it, so they don't start going to Google and getting terrible
Sure.
inaccurate information about it, and give them a little bit more of like a bit hope, a bit of realistic understanding so they can make an informed decision for whatever's right for their journey with what they've been given. So yeah, in a snapshot, that's what we do. The support that
Mhm.
we give is a variety of things. So we have a volunteer line, so that's manned by parents and families that have been through it themselves and are happy to share their experience or just listen to families' concerns and questions, and help sort of help them navigate through what they're going through.
Mhm.
And that's available 24 hours. It's normally picked up within like 48 hours. So someone will get back. We have tons of resources on our website, and they're divided into the certain parts which will be relevant for you. We have a family story section there, so we have families that have shared their stories, and again, it's from families that have had trisomy 13 babies, 18. There's also variants, so mosaic, which is not all the cells have been affected. So they have like sort of different outcomes as well for their children. And we have Facebook groups where we support families connecting with one another, finding out more about sort of current situations that might help. Um, I'm actually the events and communications officer for the charity, so I sort of liaise with the families, and I organise a family days that we do, so they're face-to-face events. So once a year we get invite everyone to come and join us and network, share their own stories, talk to one another, just not feeling like so alone in what they're going through, because
Mm,
it's that's the
mm,
biggest thing. Like you just feel like you're the only one that's going through it.
yeah,
No one really gets it because it's such a unique position to be in, and no one ever asks to be in it. So you don't know how to take it. And most people that get diagnosed with it have no idea what it is. So
sure.
you're sort of dealing with the fact that you've been given this um, devastating news, and also understanding what it actually entails for you and your pregnancy and your baby. So it's a great families always like sort of come away from it thinking what we want them to, that they're not alone, they can speak to other people.
Yeah.
And we encourage everyone to come. We have an on-site creche, so siblings can join. We like to just make it a big community, and that's what it is. We've just had our last one last weekend, actually, and it's great because you get to meet other families, so you meet surviving ones, and it's lovely to see how they're growing and what they can do, what they can't do, and it does really does make you realize that it can just form in any different way.
Yeah. That must be really difficult, isn't it? Because when someone is faced with that kind of decision, we deal with that a lot within Making Miracles. So we
Mm,
obviously support that family after that's happened. So you're kind of that step before, but
yeah,
then you're also there during, and then you also could be there after if sadly the baby passed away or there was a termination for medical reasons. And I think because everyone's journey is so individual and lots of people, have very different views on
mm,
life limited, issues, and what they should do about it. And they hear lots of different advice, and everyone's kind of got their strong stance on it. There's not many people
mm,
who are in that grey area and not really sure. There's usually quite a lot of strong opinion around you, and it must just be so difficult to have all these different this noise and voices in your head and not be able to just actually focus on what are the facts, what are the statistics around it, what could this mean for me, what could it mean for my family, because it's not just
yeah,
about your pregnancy and your baby, it's about your family unit, what that implications may be. And it's just so, so difficult. So having a resource like yours that they can go along to find out the proper information, the most up-to-date research and statistics, and just get an overall kind of world view who, from people who have been through it but aren't biased in any direction, aren't medical
so,
professionals, don't advise whether you should terminate or carry on, absolutely impartial, crucial support system is just phenomenal. And thank you so much for doing that for people who need it because, like I
yeah,
say,
I
we're
know,
always that next step along. We miss out on all of that, and it's good for us to know that organisation like yourself does exist, so we can signpost to you because that's not our expertise. Our expertise is
yeah,
a little bit afterwards. It
after,
comes
yeah,
later. But working together, it's fantastic that people can have that overall support system, no matter what the outcome is or what decision they make. There's somewhere for them to go and not feel so isolated and alone in their journey.
yeah. I mean, the reason why the charity started, so it's been 35 years this year, uh,
Wow.
there or thereabouts. It was two mums that had been diagnosed with their children
Yeah.
post-birth. Back then, there's no internet, there's nothing. So
Yeah.
the whatever they got was the facts from the doctor. And Jenny Robbins, who was the founder, was given a piece of paper from the doctor saying, "These are a few families that I know in the UK that are in your situation. Feel free to reach out and just get on with it." So she decided that this wasn't enough and wanted to reach out and make sure other families knew about her and what they could do together. And then it
Mm.
just sort of grew and grew and grew. And it's only until about 6 years ago that a lot of our work was volunteer led. We didn't have any employed people with the charity, so everything was volunteer led. But because it was growing, it definitely had legs to have something a bit more permanent in there. So
Hmm.
I came on originally as like the social media manager, and then moved into like events. That's my background anyway, so it kind of you just fall into what you are naturally
Sure.
good at. So that's what happened with me. And then we have a charity director. We have a social engagement officer, and we've just branched out recently. And we do regional days as well. So the other community that we have that's quite strong and quite big is Scotland. So that we
Mhm.
have a separate Scottish Family Day there, and they have their own group
Oh,
because it's
lovely.
just too far for them to sort of travel for the England Day. So they
Yeah.
have their own sort of regional day, and we're trying to do that sort of in every region. So we've just appointed a Northern Ireland rep as well. So
Oh,
she
wow.
covers families in Northern Ireland because they obviously have a different healthcare structure. They have different
Yeah.
regulations and rules, and it's better to have someone who's familiar with that. And
Yeah,
the rep
yeah.
we have is actually also a midwife, so
Oh,
she's
wow.
got both hats on, which is amazing,
Yeah,
and she's
that's really
already
handy.
very, very handy. So she's already making great headway in sort of getting in the right point of contact in the hospitals nearby and hospices, and
Mm,
um, she's getting in touch with like the families that are based there who don't know much about it as well. So it's great to have like someone on the ground, and we're
yeah,
definitely seeing
absolutely.
that come through with having her there.
So would you say, obviously our podcast reaches across the world. We have lots of international listeners as well, whether they were expats or whether they're just listeners listening in from other countries that don't have a podcast like ours. Would you say that the information you have on your website and the kind of support is open to people who are overseas as well? Is that okay?
Yeah,
What's your kind of take on that side of it? Because I don't want to not involve those because there are people that are going to be listening who may be going through this now and may not have
yeah.
that kind of local resource or that even, within England or Northern Ireland, who just kind of feel isolated, basically.
We do actually support families abroad. So we do have a family in France, Italy. We've had a few families from Asia also contact us.
Yeah,
The only caveat I would say with that is obviously the medical side. We
yeah,
cannot help as much. We're limited because we aren't familiar with other medical what
sure.
the sort of medical situations are in other countries. So if they
Hmm.
were looking for support with help with getting a surgery through their hospital or anything like that, we're probably quite limited in what we could offer
Yeah,
them. However, if they wanted to speak to another family with a baby with T18 or T13, we could definitely help
sure.
connect them with that so they get a better understanding of what um, to expect in that diagnosis in that way, and give them the
Yeah,
emotional support.
yeah, sure.
So we do. US is quite different. There is a soft USA, so they have their
Oh,
own
wow.
charity, but they're very pro, and their healthcare system is private, and everything is different for the
Mm,
in terms of availability of what you can get on the healthcare system. So they are quite a different entity. We do cross over now and then, but they do definitely run themselves independently. So again,
yeah,
it's good to look up if you want to find more sort of case studies about different children, but they do sort of work on their own, and we sort of cover mainly Europe and UK predominantly.
lovely. Thank you for clearing
Mm.
that one up. That was one question that was niggling in the back of my mind. I wanted to get it
Yeah.
out before I forgot. Going back to yourself, obviously your role within the charity and what you do, what made you want to get involved? Was it through personal experience or where are
Yeah.
you? If you're all right to share, are you all right
Yeah,
to let
yeah,
us know
yeah,
what
absolutely.
happened?
So, yeah, we anyone that gets involved in something like this, you do have a personal
Yeah,
connection. I never thought I would take it this far with my personal connection. I always thought I was quite a private person, I guess. But it changed me completely. So, I just go with it. But yeah, 10 years ago, I had a little boy, through IVF. So I waited for him for about 5, 6 years. Had a brilliant pregnancy with him, no problems. He was born 6 pound four, completely looked healthy to me, just wasn't feeding. So they noticed he had a cleft palate. He didn't have the mouth, so it was internal. So that's why they say it didn't get picked up in scans. So they said they'll send off for tests and see if there's anything else connected or with it. But that was it. And then 10 days later, it came back and said he was he had the cleft palate, and then unfortunately it was connected to something bigger, which meant that he had trisomy 13, and it was full
Right.
trisomy 13. And as you can imagine, my world blew up upside down. Had no idea what this thing meant. They only told me that it had a low survival rate. I had been said, the consultant did say incompatible with life, so that was awful. Um, and yeah, we were just in disbelief because we weren't really connecting what they were telling us to what we could see in him, because he looked like a completely happy, healthy baby to us. But
Mm.
they I was very fortunate. My hospital were very supportive, so their main aim was to try and get us home and have some time at home with him. They just couldn't tell us if he was going to be with us for days, weeks, months, hours. So our main aim was just to get him home. So I think my way of coping was just to take it day by day and block out all the noise and not worry about what I don't know yet. So it was more about how am I going to get him home? Let's just focus on small parts and do that. So yeah, we did that, and then we were very fortunate. We had him for 6 months and 4 days, which was how much he weighed, and we had him at home 3 months, and then he was in hospital for 3 months, there or thereabouts. So yeah, and then when he passed away, I hadn't actually got in touch with the charity. I knew about the charity. My hospital did tell me about them. So I did look to Soft just to get information, read up on other family stories. And I found a lot of family stories were like, oh, very similar to what my son had, the symptoms and everything. And it gave me like really good hope. But you do find out that every child is so different in how they display, how they react, and how they are in all of it. So you can't think if it's happened to one baby, it's going to happen to yours in a good or
Mm.
bad way. So you really do realize that your journey is personal to you.
Mm.
Um, and the phrase that always sticks with me, and I tell this every time I do talk about him, is when I went into hospital with him 3 or 4 months, when he was 3 or 4 months old. And the consultant who told me about his diagnosis was on the ward rounds, and she came in and was surprised to see us there. And she was like, "Oh, okay, well, he's obviously writing his own story then." And, it kind of made me feel good because I thought she obviously assumed he wasn't going to be alive then, but he was. And hopefully that changed her sort of perception, and she will go on and say, use my like child as a case study and say, I do know so and so went on to have a baby for this long. So yeah,
Mm.
that was like the biggest thing that stuck with me in everything that we did. Then when we lost him, that's when I reached out to Soft to just get some support on that side. And I think 6 months after, I sort of wanted to do something with my story, with what's happened with us, and I didn't want it to like sort of just go in vain, or or for anyone to forget him or anything like
Yeah.
that. So I reached out and I said I'd like to volunteer and share my story with any families that will find it helpful, and things to that nature. So I came on as a volunteer. I did just at the beginning to share my story and share it with anyone that would find it useful. And then
Mm.
it just sort of evolved. I sort of grew into the charity, and yeah, never looked back. It's like the most humbling thing I've ever done. When you go through something like this, you feel so lost in the world. You don't know where you fit
Yeah.
in. You can't go back to living a normal life because you're not the same person as you was before.
Absolutely.
So doing like a mundane job or whatever you were doing before means nothing anymore. So you
Yeah.
want to do something useful, and at that time you just want to have what you've lost come back, and you can't do that anymore. So trying to find like a new purpose was probably like the biggest challenge I found. And yeah, Soft sort of gave me that in a way
Mm.
that I could be comfortable and speak about him anytime I wanted. It wouldn't, be it wouldn't be met with anyone feeling uncomfortable with listening to me talk about him, or if you have that sort of off day when people, your audience will understand it comes out of nowhere sometimes. They completely understand that, and you can just take that day off or whatever. It was, you just don't get that anywhere else. So it's like it was a perfect match. So it was, yeah, it's just great to be able to give back to the families that I know who are going through it. And I still speak to people, speak to new families now, and I think, God, 10 years on, and I know exactly what you're going through, because I was there 10 years ago, and you're going to be fine, but you won't know it yet.
Of course. I'm so sorry to hear about your son. What's his name?
Dhian,
Oh,
yeah,
bless.
Dhian,
Oh,
yeah. So yeah,
I'm
but
so
we went
sorry to
on.
hear
We
about
had
your
two.
loss.
Oh, thank you. It was yeah. I mean, it never goes away, and
No.
we were lucky enough to go on to have two little other ones. I've got a 7 and a 5-year-old now. So, and we talk about them all the time. They know they've got an older brother, and you just become a new family. You're just a unique family, and
Yeah.
we've got pictures of him. We're fortunate to have like loads of pictures of him. Not enough, but you do, and they know we celebrate his birthday still and things
Yeah.
like
That's
that. And I just
beautiful.
always want him to be like around,
Yeah.
so they know. And I feel like they're less, because we say like he's in the sky and stuff, like they sometimes children make it quite factual, don't they? So it kind of
Mm,
helps you move on, or like kind of makes you feel like, yeah, I'd rather just see it like you do and not get bogged down with the rest
yeah.
of it. But it will be nice when they're older to tell them like the full story, and sort
Sure.
of how he was and who he was, because it's different for them, because they don't know what kind of parent I was with him. I'm a different parent with them, but I wouldn't have had them if I didn't have him.
Yeah. No, exactly that. And it's crazy, isn't it, when you look back? I mean, that must have been so traumatic for you and so shocking when you obviously got that diagnosis after his birth. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
how do you even begin to deal with that and process that? Did you get like support? Did you have any counselling or therapy or anything like that? Or
I
was like
think
the charity or therapy?
we do have a bereavement midwife as an advisor. We don't have like a specific counsellor,
Mm,
but we do have her, and we do try and pass them on to other charities like yourself
mm,
if they want specific help.
yeah.
And we
No,
we
sorry, I
have.
meant for you personally. Did
Oh,
you
for
have any of that
me,
kind of support, or did you kind of? I mean,
um,
for me with the charity, I'm quite similar. So I went through a traumatic experience. I then started the charity. I
yeah,
wanted to help others. I found my purpose in that. And for
mm,
me, I didn't have any therapy, even though
mm.
now sitting here as a qualified counsellor, I'm like, get the therapy. I didn't have that. So for me, the charity was my therapy. That doing that job, having
Yeah,
that passion. I went from a corporate world to a charitable, not-for-profit world. It's very
yeah,
different. It
it
moves
is, isn't
differently. It
it?
feels different. So what I was trying to say to you was like, did you feel that doing that work was almost like what helped you get through and get over, not get over, but
Yeah,
move on from
move forward.
what,
Yeah.
yeah, move forward from where you were.
Yeah, I did get counselling probably like a year after, because I felt for the first year, everyone talks about it with you, and after a while people stop, and
Yeah.
that's when you actually want to talk about it. But then I'm like, I don't feel like anyone's asking anymore, and I don't want to keep bringing it up, but it's
Mm,
it's never going to go away from me. So
mm,
that's when I sort of reached out and got a bit of counselling, and it was good for what I needed it for, just like an outlet to speak what I wanted to speak about for it. So it did help for some part, but I feel like with something like that, you kind of need a top up every so years or something, because it does like the hardest times are around like milestones and
yeah.
um, things like that. I always find the lead up worse, and
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the
I don't know
anxiety
why.
around it,
Yeah, yeah,
the
definitely.
build up
So
to it, rather than the actual day where you can feel a bit of relief when it
yeah.
hits.
And
Yeah.
I also like Mother's Day and Father's Day always hit differently as well, because you do feel it then as well.
Yeah.
So they're just additional sort of times you have to cope with it. And I think around that time, it's kind of a nice time to reach out and speak to someone who can relate and who can understand it, because
Mm,
those are the hard times, and like now there's so much talk about mental health and everything. You don't have to like hide about it.
Mm,
That was the biggest thing 10 years ago when I went through what I did, and no one in my family had ever, and I'm Indian, so it was a very different culturally, it was quite a
sure.
different thing to deal with. Um, but the amount of people that, like, some of my aunts had shared that they'd lost children and I had no idea, and they were just told to get on with it and have more babies and never like
Yeah,
really acknowledge them. And I
sure.
kind of gave them time to acknowledge it because I had to. He was here, he was with me, he was acknowledged. So so many of them had to do it behind closed doors, and I could never have
Mm,
done that. I wanted to shout about him to everyone I possibly could. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's difficult. And so many cultures and so many, even the way we've been brought up,
yeah,
different generations deal with it differently. It sits different
exactly.
with everybody. But one thing that is just undeniable is the fact that people are still so uncomfortable with talking about baby loss. People don't
Yeah,
want to talk about it. People don't want to acknowledge it. People don't want to ask you how you are because they think they're going to upset you. There's all that
yeah,
misconception. And I have so many, families that come to me and say, we feel like we can't talk about it anymore to friends. We feel like we can't talk about it to our parents because it upsets our parents. We just want to be able to speak freely, but we've got nowhere
mm,
to shout, basically. And
yeah,
that's a
yeah,
big part of what obviously Making Miracles do. We bring them in and, make them feel like part of our family, but not one that's
yeah.
ever gonna, you know, um,
And and do you
get,
find that like men and women are different? Because we always get that as well.
yeah,
Like the dads grieve differently.
absolutely.
So I mean, I've fully immersed myself into the charity and everything, and that was not something that my husband wanted to do. He's more than happy to support it, and every time I ask him, we're doing something about dads, can you jump on? And he'll more than happy to do it, but he wouldn't necessarily see it and think, I want to go and do that. It'd
Sure.
be something I would ask him to do, and he'd be happy to do it. So we always find that dads are approach is different.
Very,
And
yeah,
again, we have a dad's group, we have dad support, and we always try to sort of keep that line open for them because
yeah,
it's so important for them to share it.
absolutely.
And at the family days, we do find that the dads do talk about it more, and um, they are a bit more open about it. I mean, some of them, like they do talk about it for 5 minutes and then they talk about something else with the dads,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
absolutely fine too because you think, well, you've got that out of the way, and now you can be yourselves or whatever, however you want now, which is great.
Mm.
And they just feel more comfortable about it, but at least they know that this is a safe space for them to speak.
Absolutely. And I think that with some of our groups when we work, um, it takes just one dad to start and then
Yeah,
all of the rest of them kind of jump in.
yeah,
Whereas, especially if we're in a mixed group, usually it's the women that are chat, 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 and very open with their emotions. And the dads are usually a little bit more held back and, kind of there to support their partner,
yeah,
rather than go for
yeah,
themselves. But actually, when they get that permission and when they get that validation, they're like almost relieved, like, oh, I can actually now
100%.
share with people that understand, and I can, go against the whole be a man kind of
Yeah,
rubbish
yeah,
ethos that they've had drilled into them all their lives from father figures from years before. And,
yeah,
again, the cultural, the community, the way
mm,
you've been brought up,
yeah,
men don't cry, all that
mm,
stuff.
yeah,
It's so
definitely.
heavy on them, in their roles as dads and as protectors, and it's one thing that we can't fix, right? So
No,
a
exactly.
man
Yeah,
accepting that it's tricky, what
yeah,
can they
yeah,
do?
yeah.
And I guess with all almost like the issues obviously that you guys deal with, is there a layer of was this me? Is this our fault?
Yes, always. Yeah, you always
Yeah,
do blame yourself, or you think if I done something wrong,
yeah,
and
yeah, I
it's
can
it's
imagine.
it's it's never. It's called a rare genetic condition for a reason. There is no
Sure.
reason for it.
Mm,
It's completely random. There is the option to have genetic testing done.
mm-hmm,
People do take it, and normally it's negative in terms of for what you do it, and people go on to have normal, happy, healthy babies.
mm-hmm.
Um, so it's very unlikely that a family sees it again happen
Yeah,
within sort of another child. But there are tests that you can take, and there are tests that you can take before. So as well as the Downs test you can have in pregnancy. There's a Harmony test, there's a
Yeah, I had
NIPT
that
test.
myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's and then you have the NIPT that can give you further testing, so you can get more of an accurate answer. But really, I just tell the mums to go on their own instinct because you know your body, you know what
Mm,
your baby's doing inside you, and you go with your gut.
mm,
Um, I had mine through IVF. So if I had been told during pregnancy, I don't think it would have changed my decision. I
sure.
probably would have still continued because
Yeah,
of the way we've gone. And, if I hadn't, I would have lost 6 months with getting to know that baby. So
sure.
you just never know. But it all depends on your situation. You might have other
Mm,
children and it will be difficult for you to care for a baby like this.
yeah.
So you have to listen to your own family, your own needs, and the people around you, how much support you might have as well. So it's very, very personal. No,
Mm,
and no decision is wrong. Like there
yeah.
is no wrong decision. This is something that no one should have to make. So whatever you choose, no one should sort of judge you for it or say it's the wrong path unless they're going to do it for you.
Yeah. I mean,
So
it is so difficult. And I guess with finding out and depending at what stage you find out,
yeah,
the baby may not make it through the pregnancy anyway, right? They might only find out when the baby's passed away as to that was the
yeah.
reason or that was the cause. What we kind of know that that can happen at any stage through the pregnancy into the birth, and obviously you finding out after the birth. What's the latest you've ever heard of someone kind of realizing what's going on, and what's the longest that you've ever had a child survive with this for?
So we do know children that survive. Well, they're adults. We do have young adults, and we've got
Wow.
the oldest we've got is 30 years old.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I mean they're obviously not a typical 30-year-old, but they
Sure.
are still 30 years old. And so when you start having to plan about different things, because when they hit after one, you you sort of have to start thinking, well, they could probably go to like a nursery now and get
Yeah,
different
yeah.
needs met, and then school and things like that. And then when they're turning into a young adult, you have other needs because their hormones kick in as well as everything else they've got going on.
Right.
So there's different again we've got resources for all these different types of things, so those sort of different factors come in. The latest anyone gets told, if you haven't been told in pregnancy, is after birth.
Right.
So
You would
you
know
would
kind of.
you would get told in some way. A test would happen for some reason because something's not, happening. The fact baby's not feeding or breathing right. There would be a sign when they're born.
Right.
So I got told 10 days later. But yeah, others have been told 2 weeks. I know previously people have been told like sort of 3 months later because maybe they haven't
Yeah.
shown particularly big signs, but yeah, that's probably the latest. But more often we do get people that have been diagnosed during pregnancy.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
I
and
suppose with all
then
the extra tests and stuff that's going on now, like you said,
Well,
harmony
because
tests,
the
things like
test is
that.
available on the NHS now,
Yeah.
people have the option to go for it. And if they do, then they'll know early on. So
Mm,
then they have the choice to terminate or continue a lot
sure.
sooner. So that's maybe why we do hear more families during pregnancy.
Yeah.
So yeah, um,
What would
yeah.
you say like the ratio of your experience is on the terminations versus the carrying on? What would you say is
It's we don't have many of terminations. We do have some, but we don't have many that come
mm,
through.
right?
Just because of the decision they make, and maybe they feel it's not right to reach out, which we never want to discourage. We
Yeah, yeah,
obviously want everyone, and we do have families that have done it. One of our trustees has actually got the experience of that, so she's happy to speak to people that
yeah,
have
yeah.
gone down that route as well.
Absolutely.
So we do still have families that come through, but we feel with those families they do reach out, and then sort of they get whatever support and advice they get, and they sort of more it's more easier for them to move forward and leave it
Yeah.
behind, which is completely understandable. So we don't always hear they don't sort of stick around within the
Yeah, I
community, as
understand.
you say.
Yeah.
but I completely understand that as well.
Yeah.
And again,
And
there's
we
still,
have that exact same thing
yeah,
within our charity. They come
right,
along, they get the support, and then they leave. Whereas other
yeah,
families who, might hang around and might come to our events and might be a bit more
yeah,
involved,
yeah.
if it's happened differently.
So
Um,
the surviving families, we obviously
yeah,
we know more about because they are sort of available and around and want to know more about the community
yeah,
and
yeah,
want to find out more things about other children. So we know more of them than
yeah.
some of the other groups. Yeah.
Well, I guess if you've got a baby that's going into, that is getting older and is going into, toddler or each phase, as you say, is going to look and
Mm.
feel very different. And because
Yeah.
you don't kind of know at what stage this is going to tragically end,
Yeah.
you must just
And
feel like I
yeah.
need to know all the information. It
Yeah.
must be so daunting and just be so much getting thrown at you and so many things to
Yeah.
think about, so many decisions to make,
Yeah,
on what's
and the
right.
other thing we're trying to do is create more of an advocacy role
Right.
within the charity to help families like that because they don't have the time or the sometimes the resources or understanding of who they need to go to turn to get some of this help and support in
Yeah.
their local community, local borough. So if we can find somewhere where we can have like an advocacy role for someone to do that on their behalf, that's sort of our next sort of forward-looking steps, I guess, for the next like
Amazing.
sort of 12 to 18 months. That's what we'd like to set up.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for everything you do. I mean, it's been so good to speak to you, and I'm sure there will be people listening to the podcast that definitely would want to engage with you guys and get some support. And equally, there's the flip side of this. There's your followers and people who are your families already that may need that professional kind of therapy around bereavement or around choices that they're having to make. And may want to come over and come and see us at Making Miracles and get that professional support there around the specialist counselling. And we're always open to that, and we welcome all of those families too. So it's
Just
definitely.
just to get an idea of what is it that what resources that do you offer that we can obviously pass on to our members.
So with regards to, obviously, we provide professional counselling. That's our bread and butter. That is for any gestation, up to death at 1 year old. We
Hmm.
have to have a cut-off point, sadly, somewhere. Although we'd love to do more. So it's, loss for any reason, any gestation, doesn't matter how long ago it was. If it was someone who lost a baby 30 years ago, absolutely fine. That is our first and foremost. We also have support groups, WhatsApp groups, Facebook, got football teams, we've got stuff to get dads involved,
That's a great
socials,
idea.
things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, lots going on to try
Hmm.
and, engage, like you say, with the dads. It's difficult.
Yeah.
We have resources as well. So we have obviously our podcast. We've got hundreds and hundreds of episodes on there that lots of different subjects. So if there was someone, thinking I might have to look at a termination for medical reasons, there will be an experience on there of someone that's had it. So again, they can hear that story, that point of view, the kind of feelings that go alongside that. We've got a book, a children's book to explain to siblings about baby passing away. We've got a little
Amazing.
memorial bear for baby's
Hmm.
ashes to go in the back of, or memories or photos or whatever you want to have in that.
Hmm.
We've got a baby memorial garden, but that's more local to where I am in Kent. Where are you, by the
Hmm.
way? I forgot to say that at the beginning.
I'm in Kent too. I'm in
You're in Kent too.
Bromley.
Where are you?
Yeah. Bromley.
Bromley. Oh, we're down
Yeah.
near Rochester. So,
Oh, I'm from
our
Rochester.
are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
So
know
my
what? When
mum
I
and dad.
first looked at you, I thought I recognised you.
Really?
I'll talk to you about that off air.
Yeah.
But um, but yeah, so we've got a baby memorial garden in Rochester
Oh, it's
that
beautiful.
people
I'll have
can
to go
go
and visit
to.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Let me
yeah,
know when you're down, and
definitely.
I'll meet you, and we'll go
100%.
and have a look and have a
Yeah.
coffee. But yeah, there's lots of different things that the charity can offer. We obviously can do online, we can do face to face. So if people do want, instead of going to a general counsellor, they want
Yeah.
someone that's got a bit more
And that's it.
experience.
We prefer someone,
Yeah,
a lot of our families come to us because they want that specific support
yeah,
for the either the grief or journey they're on. And it's not always what you get when you go to the bigger
yeah.
groups.
Yeah,
So that's really good to know, and I'll definitely pass that sort of on and share your resources onto our families as well.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me. Is there
Thank you so
anything
much
we
for
haven't
having me.
talked about that you wanted to get in there quick or?
No, all good. Just before, if I can't remember if I did mention it, but the other sort of flip of what we do is go in and raise awareness to the professionals.
Sure.
So we last couple of years we've been doing webinars and face-to-face presentations with midwife units, sonographers, neonatal consultants, and just trying to sort of the what we offer is a family perspective, so we
Yeah.
can offer family experiences so they can share their stories of how language and communication has been given to them during
Oh,
their
yeah.
diagnosis. So we're just
100%.
trying to share that in a different way, so even if they get one family in their whole career that they've got to give that news to, it's done well and it's not left that
Yeah.
family in a difficult situation to have to deal with them alone. So
Sure.
we're just trying to sort of build that healthcare community on the other side. But primarily, we support the families first and foremost, and everything else is just extra and trying to sort of build on what the charity's done already.
Absolutely. And the same for us, we go and talk to medical professionals about language, about what to say, what definitely not to
Brilliant.
say,
Yeah,
so it's good that we're all on the same kind of page because we have to be the voice for our families, don't we? We have to be
yeah,
taking this forward and giving people real perspective on actually those words that you say, if handled badly, that will add to the trauma and the
mm,
grief and all the other emotions that go alongside what's already
yeah,
going on. If they can get the best positive experience they can get from that journey from professionals, that's another tick. But a lot of our
yeah,
families obviously don't, and we need to
exactly.
try and write those misconceptions maybe, or that those communication words that are just not
Yeah,
okay to those
yeah.
kind of ears. And you don't forget those words.
No, you don't. Yeah,
You don't
definitely.
forget
They
those
stay
words
with
and the way
you.
they're delivered and how
Yeah,
they're said and how they land. It's
yeah.
it's different. So we're all on the
Well,
same page. It's
yeah,
absolutely amazing to meet you. We will be sharing your details, your website, how people can get in touch with you under this podcast. And let's keep connecting and working together to make the whole
absolutely. Yeah,
experience.
I'm looking forward to that. Thanks so much for having me, Kelly.
No problem. Thank you so much. If anyone has been affected by anything we've talked about today, obviously, as always, you are welcome to email me, kelly@makingmiracles.org.uk. If there's any emails that you'd like me to forward on to Sonia, I can do that. So do get in touch and we will connect you as and when we can. But I think it's just amazing that there's organisations out there like Making Miracles that have the same objectives to make sure no one feels alone in any of this that we've talked about today or loss. It's really important. So thank you, Sonia, so much for joining me, and we will speak soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Bye.
Bye.